A man is on a plane when he suddenly notices a monster sitting right next to him. His terrified scream draws everyone's attention as passengers rush over to see what's happening. Meanwhile, Scooby-Doo teams up with Shaggy to catch the creature. The storm outside grows stronger and stronger, making the two of them lose their balance. Shaggy keeps telling Scooby-Doo not to look down, but Scooby-Doo accidentally does. And that only makes him more frightened. Even so, he narrowly dodges the monster's attack. Not stopping there, Scooby-Doo quickly turns the tables and traps the monster instead, giving Velma and Daphne the chance to drag everything back inside. Not long after the plane lands and the monster is instantly surrounded by passengers, Velma wastes no time pulling off the mask, and to everyone's surprise, it's the rude passenger from seat B7. His plan was to scare everyone and take over the plane so he could fly it anywhere he wanted around the world. After the police escort him away, the captain is still puzzled, wondering how Mystery Inc. managed to uncover the culprit. As it turns out, Velma had used science. She collected leftover food served on the plane and compared it with the DNA samples of the passengers. By chance, she also ran extra tests on Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. Scooby-Doo's ancestors trace back to a dog in Denmark, while Shaggy's roots come from a small village in the north of England called Norville or Morgania. Velma quickly does some online digging and discovers that this very place is suspected to be one of the lost locations of the ancient city of Camelot. On top of that, it's also famous for serving the best fish and chips in the entire United Kingdom. But there's a problem, as the gang has run out of money and can't afford plane tickets. Hearing this, the captain offers his help, since Mystery Inc. had just saved him by catching the monster. He decides to give them a free flight. Soon after, the gang is back in their trusty mystery machine, making their way to Norville or Morgania. Fred jokes about why Daphne needs to look at the map when he himself is basically a walking GPS, but while he's boasting, he almost causes the group to crash, because in the UK people drive on the left side of the road. Before long, Mystery Inc. reaches a fork in the road and spots the way to Norville or Morgania. It looks like the villagers are preparing for a festival, and the sight of endless food makes Scooby-Doo and Shaggy absolutely thrilled. Then Mystery Inc. splits into two groups, and Scooby-Doo and Shaggy wander off to hunt for food first. Velma notices a few old ruins that look like they come straight out of the Middle Ages. To their surprise, they're standing on the very land of the Kingdom of Camelot, the home of King Arthur, the wizard Merlin, and the legendary Knights of the Round Table. Velma assumes it's nothing more than rumor, but the mayor insists it's real. The tale of Arthur, Merlin, and the knights truly existed. The two sides quickly greet each other, and Velma wonders how the mayor can be so certain. He replies, because it all began right here, long ago, when King Arthur was attacked by the sorceress Morgan. Things looked grim until a brave knight appeared. His name was Norville, known far and wide for his courage. He defeated the wicked Morgan and saved Camelot. To Velma, witches and wizards are nothing more than myths from the medieval era, though she is openly skeptical. The mayor doesn't take offense, as the town is about to hold its grandest celebratio. Just then, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy return when their stomachs are truly full. Velma explains that Shaggy is the real reason they came here, because his ancestors trace back to Norville or Morgania. Shaggy admits, actually my full name is Norville Shaggy Rogers, but everyone just calls me Shaggy. Norville is a family name that's been passed down for generations. As he speaks, he pulls out a family heirloom necklace. His mother gave it to him for luck. The moment the mayor sees it, his face darkens. He mutters that he has urgent matters to attend to, then quickly excuses himself. Shaggy's story soon spreads through the town, and people begin to look at him differently, hoping to learn more about Shaggy's ancestors. Mystery Inc. heads to the library. The librarian seems uneasy, barely daring to meet their eyes, but when Velma asks about books on the town's history, she reluctantly points the way. Before long, Velma uncovers the ancient chronicle of Norville or Morgania. The instant she opens it, a strong gust of wind sweeps through, as if warning of some dark fate. The pages tell of a time long ago. There was once a great king named Arthur, but his kingdom was besieged by a wicked sorceress named Morgan, who coveted his throne. A fearless knight named Norville rose to challenge her. With the sacred sword Excalibur in hand, he struck her down and saved the realm. He also won a grand tournament to become the rightful ruler of Camelot, but the sorceress Morgan transformed herself into a dragon and carried Norville off to her castle. From that day forward, no one ever heard from either of them again, so King Arthur issued a decree: if Sir Norville or any of his descendants were ever to return, they would be crowned and made ruler of all Camelot. Later, when Mystery Inc. leaves, they notice that the village has suddenly become deserted. Daphne assumes the townsfolk are simply preparing a surprise, so she starts dancing to break the silence. It seems absurd, but it almost makes sense, because at that moment Morgan herself appears. Furious, she cries out that if Norville had never existed, she would already rule this land. She then chases after the gang, dragging poor Mystery Inc. into ancient trouble they never asked for. Fred drives as fast as he can, and soon they manage to shake Morgan off. Velma suspects that this might be the ghost of the sorceress, though she admits it sounds impossible. Shaggy, meanwhile, is so terrified he nearly loses what little courage he has left. Just then the gang notices a stone statue of Norville nearby, but Morgan, clearly displeased by the mention of that name, warns them never to speak it aloud. She then casts a spell to twist time itself, sending Mystery Inc. hurtling into the past. One by one they faint as the world begins to rewind. Important events from long ago flash before their eyes, until they awaken to find themselves suspended in midair. The moment they crash to the ground, they suddenly jolt awake again. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy panic, thinking they've lost all feeling in their legs, only to realize they've just grabbed the wrong limbs in confusion. Once they stand up, Velma checks her phone but finds there's no signal. Fred guesses they've been sent back to the past, but Velma dismisses it as some kind of elaborate prank. As Velma analyzes the situation, a horse suddenly gallops up, which startles her. It soon becomes clear that Mystery Inc. is caught in something far bigger than they imagined, as before them rises the mighty Castle Camelot. The gang hurries inside, only to realize they've stepped straight into a dark and perilous age. Suddenly they see a servant blowing a trumpet to announce the arrival of his king. The group hides quickly as he presents King Arthur to the crowd. The king declares that after so many years of battle, I have finally triumphed, and so I shall host a great feast, not for you but for myself. After finishing his words, King Arthur immediately orders his servants to raise the taxes, which brings ridicule and scorn from the people. Suddenly Morgan appears with an arrogant voice. She comes with the purpose of becoming the ruler of Camelot. Of course, King Arthur cannot accept this, so he draws his sword to fight. Yet because of his clumsiness, he drops it to the ground. He has no choice but to replace his weapon with golden brass knuckles and rely on his knight. When words no longer matter, it becomes the time for violence. Morgan quickly casts her spells and drives King Arthur away. Not only that, she throws Camelot into chaos. After wreaking havoc until she is satisfied, she finally leaves. Meanwhile, Velma realizes that everything is exactly like the book they have read. That means Sir Norville is actually Shaggy, sent back from the future. Daphne is shocked to see Velma believe in time travel. If we are living in the past, then we must do everything exactly as it once happened. Otherwise, we will destroy the timeline and might even cause the entire universe to explode in a quantum paradox. Right after that, Velma checks her phone and sees that they are still alive, because the photo of them has not disappeared. Then the Mystery Inc. decides to reenact what has happened by joining King Arthur's feast. Shaggy introduces himself as Norville, together with his companions, to greet the king. They claim to come from a kingdom across the sea, a place with tacos on Wednesdays, hot dogs on Thursdays, and hamburgers on Fridays. Although King Arthur does not fully understand, he still welcomes them and asks to see the hamburgers. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy gladly show off their cooking, creating a gigantic hamburger. But they are still missing one important step, that is cutting it. With no knife in sight, Shaggy casually grabs the legendary sword Excalibur to slice the hamburger, stunning everyone around him. What he does not realize is that legend says whoever pulls the sword Excalibur shall be given the throne. Even so, King Arthur becomes furious when a stranger dares to pull the sword and seize his crown. Unable to accept this truth, he hurls the burger straight at Shaggy. Fortunately, the great wizard Merlin appears in time to stop him. Merlin cannot bear to see Arthur, who is a king, but acts like a spoiled child. Velma quickly explains that Shaggy has drawn the sword Excalibur. Just as one forest cannot have two tigers, one kingdom cannot have two kings. Hearing this, Merlin proposes that the matter be solved like adults. The two sides will fight and the winner will claim it all. Shaggy grows anxious and afraid of losing, because all he knows is eating and sleeping. But King Arthur insists they are nobles, and nobles do not fight directly. They let their servants fight for them. The only thing they must do is sit, eat, and enjoy the battle. The warriors below are trained for this very moment. Yet Shaggy does not expect King Arthur to be so quick in claiming them all, leaving only Fred and Daphne on Shaggy's side. Daphne feels worried that Fred will be in danger when facing warriors whose muscles are so huge that even their armor cannot endure them. I think we will be fine, because the legend already says we are destined to win. Besides, you have fought countless monsters before, so this should be nothing to you. Meanwhile, Velma notices the wizard Merlin and becomes curious enough to investigate him, but she does not expect that she nearly puts herself in danger, almost burned alive by flames. It turns out that the fire comes from Merlin, who is in the form of a toad. Merlin carefully helps Velma to her feet and gently asks how he can be of help. "I am here to search for more knowledge," she explains. Merlin politely offers her a cup of tea and listens attentively. Velma then reveals the truth that she and her friends have been transported into the past and they want to find a way home. After hearing this, Merlin hands her his spellbook and says that all the answers she seeks are inside. On the other side, Fred begins to put on his armor to fight. Even though they know the battle will likely be dangerous, Scooby-Doo and Daphne still stand by him. Yet neither of them expects Morgan to appear suddenly. Fred bravely charges forward only to be struck down at once. Morgan's true intention is to ruin the duel and seize the throne for herself. After declaring this, she vanishes, leaving Scooby-Doo and Daphne helpless. With Fred unable to fight, it means surrender and King Arthur will take the victory. Shaggy does not know what to do until Daphne suddenly steps out wearing knight's armor. In the Middle Ages, prejudice still favors men over women, so female warriors are dismissed. Daphne stepping in for Fred makes King Arthur laugh in mockery, but Shaggy quickly defends her, declaring that in his land men and women are equal and women can do whatever they wish. The first contest begins. A jousting duel on horseback. Daphne rides with power and determination and the result is a draw. She swiftly changes to a new spear, and this time both fighters are thrown from their horses. Seeing Daphne struggle to rise, the man draws his sword to finish her off. Yet he does not expect her agile movements within the heavy armor, dodging blow after blow. Frustrated, he boasts that she cannot dodge forever, but his taunt only ignites Daphne's anger and she unleashes a furious flurry of punches, knocking him down. When Arthur sees his knight defeated by a woman, instead of anger, he feels thrilled by the surprise. The next round is archery. Arthur's knight nearly strikes the bullseye, but when Daphne's turn comes, she calmly fires 3 arrows in a row straight into the center. In the contests that follow, Daphne proves to all that whatever men can do, women can match and sometimes even surpass, as she defeats all of Arthur's knights and claims an overwhelming victory. But Morgan cannot accept such an outcome, as she too craves the throne. With her sorcery, she revives the Black Knight to battle Daphne. With a single swing of his sword, the ground nearly splits apart. Daphne is powerless to attack, forced only to dodge again and again. Against such absolute strength, resistance feels meaningless, and soon she is struck down. Just as the Black Knight prepares to end her, Velma suddenly appears. She chants a spell from Merlin's book, unleashing a chain of butterfly effect-like bursts that manage to stun the knight. Shaggy then quickly tosses the sword Excalibur to Daphne. She raises it ready to end the fight. When the Black Knight abruptly awakens, Velma, with no other choice, chants another spell to summon Merlin himself. With a single wave of his magic, Merlin banishes the knight's soul back to the underworld. When the deed is done, he disappears before everyone's eyes, but Morgan refuses to accept defeat. Furious, she seizes Shaggy, declaring if she cannot claim the throne, then no one shall. The loss of Shaggy makes the timeline unstable, because the photo of Mystery Inc. is gradually disappearing. I know the location of Morgan's castle, a place truly terrifying with deadly traps. But King Arthur refuses to follow because he is still busy dealing with the hamburgers. Scooby-Doo can't believe that someone could calmly eat and drink while their friends are in danger. When Arthur hears the word friends, he recalls the time when Shaggy was always by his side, eating and drinking with him. Realizing his mistake, he immediately changes his mind and offers to join them. But now Arthur's knights are all gravely injured. Seeing this, he raises the sword Excalibur and knights Mystery Inc., declaring them the new Knights of the Round Table. Everyone sets off in the Mystery Machine, which has been transformed into a horse-drawn carriage. Soon they arrive at Witch Morgan's castle. As soon as they step inside, Daphne accidentally triggers a trap and almost gets pierced by arrows. Seeing that, Velma tries chanting a spell to deactivate the traps, but nothing happens. King Arthur feels hopeless and wants to return to his kingdom, but Fred, as a master of traps, quickly finds a solution. Everyone uses the armor to build an iron boat, and then Fred only needs to launch a boulder forward so it pulls the boat along. It looks dangerous, but it actually works. They get to experience what it feels like to stand at death's door, but before long they successfully overcome the deadly traps and remain unharmed. Deeper inside, they discover countless piles of gold. Along with the sound of someone eating greedily, Scooby-Doo immediately recognizes it as Shaggy. He rushes forward to join his best friend at the feast. Seeing Scooby-Doo eat so happily, Shaggy and King Arthur can't resist either. The three of them quickly clear the entire table and even have enough free time to play a game of sandwich-style pocket cards. No matter who wins, they are determined to finish every last bit of food. But Velma suddenly realizes that it is already too late. The photo has disappeared completely. Morgan appears out of nowhere and seizes Excalibur, along with a transfer agreement signed by Shaggy himself. He has been tricked into trading away an entire kingdom for just one feast. Fred refuses to accept this and charges forward, but he doesn't expect that she has transformed into a dragon. In medieval times, dragons symbolize power and authority. Their strength comes not only from their massive bodies and impenetrable scales, but also from their ability to breathe fire. Seeing the danger, Velma urges everyone to do what they do best, which is running. Morgan, now in dragon form, chases after them but is caught in the very trap she had set. After taking the full brunt of the trap combo, she grows weaker. Meanwhile, Mystery Inc. prepares to escape, but the castle gate suddenly slams shut. Shaggy is still behind. Seeing this, King Arthur sacrifices himself to save him. He tells Shaggy to go ahead, since he can't hold the gate for long. When it closes, Arthur is caught inside the dragon's jaws. At least in the end, he has finally done something meaningful in a life he once thought was useless. Morgan rises into the air, locking onto her prey. With no way to escape, Velma uses the book for another purpose. Besides, reading it also serves well as a weapon to throw. Struck hard, Morgan in dragon form overloads with magic and explodes. At last, Mystery Inc. claims victory together with King Arthur. They quickly bring Morgan back. Greeted by the triumphant cheers of the people, King Arthur thanks the Knights of the Round Table, but Velma realizes that the photo is still gone. Shaggy fears that the future has been destroyed, which means he will no longer be able to eat Scooby snacks. Arthur comforts everyone, saying that there is nothing to be sad about, because together they will make the world a better place. His speech is moving, but Velma declares that it is time for this play to end. After saying that, she pulls off Morgan's mask, revealing the librarian. It has all been nothing more than a performance staged by the villagers of Camelot. The photo disappears simply because the phone runs out of battery. The flying spell works thanks to an engine, and Velma figures it out when she notices that Arthur is actually Winston, a famous TV actor. She feels a sense of familiarity, and when his abs are revealed, she is certain. Winston thanks Mystery Inc. for joining in this wonderful medieval revival play. From the moment they saw a fork in the road with one path blocked, that was actually the road leading to Camelot Castle, which had been built right beside the village to attract tourists. Shaggy, however, wonders why they had to drug the whole gang. The reason is simple. It's all because of you, Shaggy. You are the descendant of Sir Norville, which means you have the right to inherit Camelot. When the mayor discovers this truth, he immediately calls an emergency meeting to do everything possible to make Shaggy sign the transfer of ownership of the land. But Shaggy doesn't want to own this place. All his life he has met villains who did terrible things just for a few pieces of land. Instead of staging a whole play like this, they could have just talked to him and he would have signed right away. But faced with such a tempting opportunity, the librarian is swallowed by greed. She wants to take the land for herself, so she runs to the town hall to get the official seal of approval. Fortunately, Winston has a backup plan. He uses a car modified in the shape of a dragon, a vehicle anyone would want to test drive at least once in their life. Seeing the librarian about to reach the town hall, Winston activates airplane mode, but because the gate isn't big enough, one of the wings breaks off and the car explodes. The librarian, thinking she has won, so she celebrates too soon, unaware that Winston also has the skill of throwing slippers. Next, Velma takes her turn. She burns the transfer paper. The police then arrive to arrest the librarian. The mayor offers to give the land back to Shaggy, but Shaggy immediately refuses. He believes the land should belong to everyone. He only wants to learn about his ancestors. He has no interest in owning property. After that, the mayor holds a banquet and invites Mystery Inc. to join. Velma still has one question. She doesn't know how Merlin was able to perform magic again and again. Even though he said magic was real, Velma insists it was only illusion. After all, a magician never reveals his secrets. Suddenly, the mayor appears and asks who Velma is talking to. Only then does Velma realize that Merlin isn't a villager at all. So who is he?